Okay, he's represented India 59 times in both formats of white ball cricket. He's made 750s, well over 1,000 runs to go with 21 catches and 2 stumpings. He's nearing 10,000 first-class runs where he's made 22 tons, 52 50s, averages over 40 to go with 136 dismissals with the gloves and 12 wickets of his own. Yep. He's probably got no idea who we are, and that's completely healthy. Because we're two idiots from the internet who sent him an email and his lovely team accepted our pitch. We'll try our best to live up to it. It's a huge pleasure to welcome to the great cricketer, Indian international, World Cup winner, IPL winner, Chennai Super King, Karnataka hero, but maybe more importantly, as his bio says, dreamer, believer, father. And his son is here as well, Neil, Robin Uthappa. Robin, welcome to the great cricketer.
Thanks, Sam. I'm happy to be here. I think it's going to be a fun hour.
We'll see. We'll see. Robin, we'll go from the start to kick it off. So my understanding is that you are a huge cricket natural from a very young age. So my first question is, if YouTube existed when you were 7, would you have been a viral clip like that young child we saw the other day, or that elephant we saw on the internet going inside out over cover?
Yeah, you probably have a combination of the two with me. But yeah, growing up, I don't know, man. I don't know how things would have been if I was a kid with the exposure that social media gives children nowadays. But yeah, I was considered a prodigy. Not prodigy, but I don't know if I can say prodigy. But I was considered one of those guys who was hugely talented and. I played for the under 13 state team for Karnataka when I was 8.5 years old.
Yeah.
And played first class cricket when I was just 16, and then made my Ranji Trophy debut when I was 17. So yeah, I was pretty young. I was pretty young. When I got through the ranks.
Because I played for the under-8s when I was 13, so we sort of had a different situation. I want to know, Robin, there was a whole court case afterwards. I can't talk about it actually, but like when did you first know that you were like, I was going to say, when did you first know you were good? Like, obviously, if you're playing under 13s when you're 8.5, like that's good. But when did you think, I'm a shot at playing for India, I reckon? Same age?
So I knew at the age of 8. So when I first went for my under 13 selections, I must have been 7.5, 8 years old. And I got kicked out the first round. And then I remember my mum and dad trying to console me and saying, hey, don't worry, it happens and you're not going to get in the first try. And I told my mum that, hey, you know what, Mum, I know that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I said, I said, this is what I want to do for a job. I told her that I'll put food on the table by doing this. This will be my primary job. And my mom was a little like flabbergasted. She's like, what does the kid do? What is the kid saying? Yeah. But then, I think at the age of 8 is when I knew that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I knew I'd play for India. So I would spend hours on end playing the hanging ball.
Yeah.
And as a young kid, I would visualize myself batting alongside Rahul Dravid, Sachin Tendulkar, VVS Lakshman. That's literally how I spent my pre-teens and teens. And I certainly believe today that that had a huge role in me playing for India because I visualized it and I actually spent I'd plan like a 5-day test match and I'd be batting every day hanging ball and I'd time it right from 9:30 to 12 and then 12 to 12:45 break for lunch and then bat again.
Yeah.
So I'd be batting like the whole day. So I play 1-day matches, 4-day games, 5-day games, just like that. Yeah. And then I think that had a massive impact on my belief system and my convictions that I would play for the country at some point. I knew I would. I didn't necessarily care how or how it would come about. And I think that played a massive part in my convictions that I would play for the country, and that kind of translated into my performances and playing for state and being this aggressive youngster who played a lot of shots. So basically, when you came up the ranks, so in the mid 90s, playing aggressively was a what's the word? was an anomaly, you know. So you had more grafters then, someone who played for time, even 30 over games that we played in school matches. You thought of scores that were 150, 160 were really good scores, right? But when I played for my school team, we consistently get to 200, 230, 240, 250s. And then it's like, this guy's overage, you know, and I had a lot of accusations coming from parents saying that this fellow is not under 13. He's not under 14. He's definitely overage, you know. And I had a lot of that growing up. And it didn't deter me from playing the way I played. I played really aggressively as a kid. And, people enjoyed it. My coaches enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. In fact, even in the nets, there was a time when I was in an academy here in Bangalore where I started playing cricket. My coach, who's actually a coach who was coaching me at that point in time, who's actually no more, he told me that, Robin, you are playing only along the ground. If you hit one ball in the air, you're getting out of the net. So I played 2 balls along the ground. I'm like, man, I can't do this. I stepped out and I whacked the other one over mid-on. I'm like, out, get out. You're not sitting there. You're not playing anymore. But that's how I played. That's how I backed myself when I played. And today you see, everyone wants to play like that. So 25 years ago, nobody really necessarily played like that. So that's why I was considered an anomaly of the system at that point in time. And I think that also kind of helped me stand out. And I think that played a huge role in me becoming who I am today.
Can I ask about just specifically talking about playing with the hanging ball? Because I did that as well. So am I right in thinking like what you'd hang it on a rope on a tree? And then it's a sock?
Sock,
what sort of sock? Like a long sock, a short sock, like a thin sock?
It's one of those no-shows.
So initially it was a cricket ball into a long sock.
Yes.
Tied into a synthetic, like a rope. A thin synthetic rope, a clothesline basically. Right. I in fact got one for Neil because he always wants to bat or bowl, and like he watches TV, and then once like if he's watching cricket on television, he's like, I want to bat, I want to bowl. So I was like, listen, I was like, we can't. And he goes on, right? He wakes up at 7:30 in the morning, and he's going non-stop till 7:30 in the evening. And after a point, you can't keep up with the energy levels that these kids have. So I was like, okay, the best thing to do is get a hanging ball for him. So just 2 days ago, yesterday, I think I got a nice synthetic clothesline and then tied a sock onto his tennis ball and said, you start doing this. And he's slowly getting into it. He doesn't understand completely. But that's what I did. Sock, synthetic rope, tied it onto either a tree. I started off with a tree that we had, but just like, pleasantly kind of came into our apartment like that. So not the apartment, not our apartment, so to speak, but in the compound, in our compound where the apartment, our flats were. And I tied it up to the tree and started off there. But then I graduated off to a small steel closing gate, and I tied it onto the top of the closing gate and then used it.
Can I ask, I just wanted to ask a really specific question about it, because one of the problems I had with the hanging ball, technically speaking, was that like you couldn't generate the pace to play behind the wicket. You're always having to play in front of yourself. Like, were you able to get around that? Like, it was hard to get the pace on the ball. Do you, like, how did you overcome that technical problem?
So I was really lucky that way. So I had this collapsing gate. I had like a balcony on the first floor. So so that one, I would really throw the ball hard against that balcony, hit the wall, and then come back fast. And then come back really fast with a lot of pace. And then I would play that ball. So I would like literally every ball I'd play a shot, stop, throw the ball back out again, and then again play. But I truly kind of believe that my game developed because of the little, like we have a small plot in front of our apartment. Must have been a rectangular plot, right? And at one end of the rectangular plot, at both ends of the rectangular plots, there were houses. So at one end, it was a big house with a roof, and then there were roads on either side of the plot. So the rules were: you bat at one end against the big house. So you're facing the big house, and that's the bowling end. And if you had to score runs, you scored runs in the V. And if you had to score a 4 or a 6, you had to score along the ground in the V, past that house into the gaps in the V, along the ground. Or if you had to hit a 6, you had to hit it over the house and into a there's another road, the main road, past the main road into a drainage area. So only to hit it that far was it a 6. So I kind of developed my game playing like that.
Okay.
And that's why I played so much in the V. So I learned playing behind the V much later.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I have to take up so much of the interview just getting the specifics of the hanging ball.
Well, now I want to ask a question because don't you have like neighbours who are just like, can you just shut up? Like you're on like 870 at lunch hitting cricket balls. I used to live next to a guy who was knocking in a bat, like knocking the bat during the middle of the day, and I almost went around there and killed him. Honestly, it was like the most annoying. Again, I can't talk about it for legal reasons, but
court cases.
There's court cases going on, but like, wasn't the noise just like this? Like Robin Uthappa just as bashing 700 against Australia or whatever in the backyard. Didn't anyone come around being like, can you just do something else, please?
Yeah, they did. Of course, I went through that, and there were times I had to stop between, say 2 and 3 or 2 and 4 because people were taking their naps at that point in time. So I played one-day matches at that point. So I'd finish one-day games before lunch, and then come back and play another one-day game. And then when it was summer vacation, then they said, okay, play. It's fine. So they were really understanding. So I have to, give them a lot of credit for letting me kind of practice my skills at that young of an age.
Well, and this maybe makes sense, and I'm sorry to skip well ahead because we do have some other questions, but I want to go to the 2007 ODI World Cup. Talking about playing it behind square, this will make sense in a second. You're in the Indian ODI side. You might see where it's going, but Ganguly, Sehwag, Tendulkar, Dravid, Harbhajan, Kumble, Yuvraj, Dhoni. It's the stuff dreams are made of.
Pretty good.
Pretty good bunch of players there. What you probably hadn't factored in this dream was a game against Bermuda. India bats first. You're opening. It's 3 for none. You're facing Malachi Jones. In your own words, what happens next?
Jonesy was a good bowler.
Edge, and then I helped Leverock kind of seal himself into eternity.
and Dwayne actually said Dwayne Leverock takes the catch of the Millennium, and he said he deliberately moved to the right just before the ball because he sort of felt something was coming.
Yeah,
he maybe knew about the way you grew up.
He saw the game ahead of it, didn't he?
I think India made 413 for 5 in that match. What was it? What was the reaction when you entered the dressing room after that dismissal? Was it quiet or was there any giggles?
Yeah.
They just had bad luck. There weren't many giggles. It was an intense dressing room that World Cup. All was not necessarily well at that point in time, and it was pretty intense. But then I was really bummed out, man. It was a game for me to get a big score, and then not to be able to get a big score. Man, everybody else got more than 50 in that game.
Yeah,
I was really bummed out.
Fair enough. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, on that theme, just to continue on with the pain, Robin. In 2008, you played a game against Hong Kong. And India won the toss and batted, and you must be thinking, you beauty, here we go. It's an Asian Cup game against Hong Kong. I'm in for the runs here. I mean, India got 374, and you bowled Hong Kong out for 118. How frustrating was it that you were listed at batting number 6 in that game?
But that's happened to me my whole career, international career. So I've always, if you go and look at my stats, actually, you would notice that I haven't played in one batting position for more than 3 innings.
No.
Every third innings, I was moved to another position.
Yeah.
I reckon if I had played 49 games that I've played, if I played 49 games one position, I would have played 149 games, so 249 games. Because I know I'm that good, But I did that at the point in time because the team needed it. But it affected my personal, statistics or career, so to speak.
Yeah.
You're talking about the, it just must be so competitive to get into the Indian side. And then for some background for us, we're obviously very afraid about what's happening with how good India are becoming in cricket. Like we spoke to former India coach Greg Chappell last year, and I believe he gave you your ODI debut for India.
He did.
And,
he did. Of course he did.
He was telling us that only now India is managing to funnel all the best young players from around the country into the international team, whereas before they might have only come from a few different areas. And he went on to say that India would soon be able to fill 5 teams of international quality. Do you think the quality of cricket is getting better in India? And should the rest of us be extremely afraid?
Yeah, you all should. I think you all should make it fair. And you should allow us to have at least 3 Indian international sides so that all of us who deserve to play international cricket get to play international cricket. You know how bumming out it is that you're an international caliber player, but you're not playing international cricket. It's extremely frustrating, man. Mentally, emotionally, it's extremely frustrating.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
The amount of talent, see, I'll tell you, the problem, not the problem. I think it's a blessing. I think the blessing that we have is that India is a massive country and we have 1.3 billion people living, right? And out of that, I think a lot of people play cricket. So if you look at Australia, in all of Australia, you probably have 25 million people?
Mm-hmm.
Is the population?
Yeah, that's right.
I'd say in just Bangalore, Bombay, or just Karnataka, just my state, we have about 5 or 7 million players playing cricket. So, and you go around the country, and we'd probably be having 30, 40 million playing cricket.
Yeah.
Right? And that's more than the population of people in your country.
Yeah.
Right? So can you imagine the amount of talent that we have? And today with the exposure that social media gives you, you have guys learning things at a much younger age than ever possible before. Right? And I think the biggest blessing to international cricket and cricket in general has been the IPL. Because the kind of exposure that it has brought out, not just to Indians, but also to internationals, has been enormous. Right?
Yeah.
And sorry, but
it's all good. Yeah. Love it. Are you getting YouTube clips up of yourself?
He's typing in the
no,
great
he wants
cricketer.
to see photographs of himself there. So
my boy's like that as well.
There you go, champ.
Gabba reaction.
So I think coming back to what I was saying, I think that plays such a massive role in having the amount of talent that we have. And then a lot of people in the early 2000s set up a great system in India. We had a TRDO system that was set up in India to send them to second-tier cities, third-tier cities to discover talent there. And it's that system that really funneled all these people into actually coming into our mainstream cricket. And then at the right time, the IPL came, the T20 World Cup happened, the victory happened for us, the IPL came, and then it was boom.
Yeah.
It kind of exploded from there. Yeah. And then you just see that after that, it's so hard to actually retain a spot. It's easy to get a spot in the Indian team, but to retain a spot in the Indian team became really hard.
Yeah. So you're
still hard today.
You're saying that Sam and I probably played a few games for India, but not many based on those numbers. I think that's the main takeaway from that. Hey, we obviously saw the reaction of when the Test team came home after the Gabba. But you were part of a 2008 team.
We have to talk about this. How good is that?
I actually didn't catch a Test series. I didn't know what happened. But you were part of a winning team that won the Commonwealth Bank Series in 2008 against Australia, winning in Australia. Then that was a big deal. But were the celebrations as wild when you came home? Like, were you offered to cut a kangaroo cake with in the shape of Ricky Ponting's face, or were there any offerings like that?
No. So the thing is, we were just on a roll from 2007 when we had a lot of victories, big victories, right? And then we had a massive victory in T20 cricket, but we also needed a massive victory in one-day cricket. And 2008, especially after the Monkey Gate incident and the Monkey Gate controversy, that victory for the Indian team was very, very crucial. And I think that kind of paved the way for a lot of visiting teams after that, especially Indian visiting teams after that, with the conviction that we can beat these guys at their own backyard.
Yeah.
Robin, just on that and that Indian team, I just took this from an interview that you gave, I think last year. You said when we were playing in the Indian team, the friendship was extremely thick. We always spent time together. We always ate our meals together. We ordered food together. We went out together, everything together. I could be wrong, but I'm not sure that's always the case in, say, the Australian cricket team or among Australian cricket teams, especially after the recent sandpaper issues. There's huge divisions in the side. Is it normal? Is it normally the case that in Indian sides that everyone's mates and hang out together, or were you just lucky to be part of a special group, or what?
Yeah, it is still the culture. I do believe that people still hang out together. I haven't been in this side for the last 5 years or so, I don't know how it is now. But even when I was in the side the last time, we still went out for meals together. We still hung out together. And so India is kind of divided into 5 different areas. So there's South, North, East, West, and Central, right? So a lot of cricketers growing up end up playing with each other from those different areas, and they end up interacting with each other when South Zone plays North, and the other ways. And when that happens, you start interacting with them and you make friends, right? Even guys from outside of your own zone. And when you start doing that, then you start finding, and then a lot of friendships kind of form there in the under 17s and under 19s. And then say there's a camp, and we have the National Academy here, the National Cricket Academy. And all of them, the best of the lot, the cream of that lot come, yeah, the cream of the lot come up and practice at the NCA for a month, couple of months. So a lot of friendships are formed there. And once those are formed, then they end up hanging out together. And some of those friendships, most of those friendships last a lifetime. Yeah. So I think, that plays a huge part in the camaraderie of a side. And it's and then it just becomes a lot of fun when you travel together.
Yeah.
And I think when you travel together in an Indian team, you just become closer. And that's what's happened. I think the pandemic today has also become an avenue to bring guys more closer together, because you're so sick and tired of just being stuck up in a room. And you just want human interaction after a point in time.
Yeah, of course. So you were saying before that how many different positions you batted in, and then we're talking here about the camaraderie and stuff. Obviously, I saw when you played against Australia, you actually opened the batting with Sachin. I want to know what do you and Sachin talk about when you're walking out to the middle? Is he saying like, Robin, you take first ball? Is he saying, don't worry, just give me the strike, I've got this today? Is he talking about his car collection? What does Sachin Tendulkar talk about when you're walking to the middle?
You actually won't believe Sachin Tendulkar. We call him Paji, so I'm going to call him Paji. So Paji played with a lot of. He played through a lot of pain in that Commonwealth Bank series. He was not okay physically, and he played through a lot of pain. There were times where he would wince, and in pain, and we'd be like, Paji, are you okay? Is everything? He's like, yeah, I'm fine. He always put the team ahead, and the requirement of the team ahead, and he always did that. He played through a lot of pain. I remember having a conversation with him during that series where he said, Robin, it's so hard to keep yourself fit after 32, 33, 34, because it just gets that much more challenging. Injuries start taking a toll. At that age, I was 21 and 22 when I had that conversation. I'm like, no, Paji, I'm sure you're just saying this, but you're just saying this because you're so fit and you deal with pain so well. He's like, no, Robin. He said, when you're 35, let's have a conversation and let's see if you agree with me or not.
Yeah.
And today at 35, I'm going to tell you, he was bang on. Yeah. Injuries do start taking a toll once you pass 32, 33.
Yeah.
Speaking of age differences, Robin, first thing that happens when you search your name on YouTube is firstly a TED Talk, which we'll come back to. But then the second thing is a story you told about being afraid of Venkatesh Prasad. You said you were so afraid of underarming the ball incorrectly to him that you ran from mid-off or mid-on and placed it in his hands. But then, I don't know if you know, but we interviewed him a few weeks ago and put that to him, and he said, no way, I think Robin's exaggerating. And I'm kind of inclined to believe you, because when we talked to Venky, I was afraid of him.
Yeah.
There was something scary about him.
Something in the eyes. Something in the eyes.
Something about his eyes, but a very lovely man, but I wouldn't want to mess with him,
He was polishing a gun, actually, most of that.
Polishing a gun. Who's telling the truth?
So I love Venky, right?
Yeah. Me too. Wouldn't say a bad word about him.
He actually, and for more reasons than one, right? I first knew him as a player, but then he was my coach when I made my first comeback into the Indian team. So when I got dropped from the Indian team, I made my debut, was the record holder for the highest scorer on an international debut for India. Played another game against Pakistan immediately, and then was dropped for a couple of games. Then was dropped for another 4 games and played another game. The last game of West Indies tour. Last one-day game, and I got out first bowler to Wavell Hines, I think, who bowled the new ball. I was slapping myself on the head that day, mate. And I got the axe. Sure enough, I got the axe. And then Venky was the coach of our Ranji Trophy team at that point in time. So I scored a 50 in the first game, first innings of the second game of the season. And I was very happy with myself that, I got a 50. And then he called me to his room and he said, Rob, want to have a conversation with you. And he showed me the highest run scorers list of that season, just 2 games in. And then he said, you're number 47. He said, you're an Indian cricketer who's had a great start in international cricket, but you're number 47 in the highest run scorers list. Is that where you want to be when the season ends? Where do you want to be? And that kind of, just kind of keyed me in to really focus and get runs. I scored 100 in the second innings. I ended up scoring 850 runs in the season. Top scored 500s. Top scored in the country, was number one in the country, and simply because I had one conversation with Venky, and that's all the conversation we had. And so I knew, even when I played first for Karnataka at 16, I knew that Venky was someone who was intense, but was always team oriented, and someone who always wanted to bring the best out of players. He set a really high standard, not just for others around him, but even for himself. A very, very high standard that we all had to live with. So for me, guys like Venky, Sunil Joshi, Anil Kumble, Venkatesh, Rahul Dravid, Sujit Somasundar, J. Arun Kumar, all of these guys are guys with enormous work ethic. They knew that they understood their games and worked really hard. So for me, Venky, I always drew a lot of inspiration from him, looking at his work ethics. And he was someone who always gave us a lot of fielding catches. So, and set really high standards. So there was a fear also because, as a young 15-year-old who's always kind of dominated his scene, 15, 16, who's always dominated his scene and come suddenly thrown in with the big boys. And then you suddenly are expected to live up to a certain level of standard that's been set by the seniors. Which even meant that your net sessions had to be really purposeful. And he conducted himself as such. Even in the net sessions, he conducted himself with a really high standard that that he met and made sure everyone met. Right? So what happened was, and I completely get it today as someone who's a senior pro today, playing first class cricket for as long as I've played. You want to practice like that, and you want to create an atmosphere like that at practice so that the match becomes slightly easier, right? So what happened was I was keeping behind the stumps, and I was going off with my own, 16-year-old intensity of being casual and all that. So I'm certain that maybe I threw the ball a couple of times, and I didn't throw it straight up to him, went a little haywire. And this one time I was throwing the ball back to him when I was keeping, I hit my knee along the way, and the ball just kind of bobbed. He was bowling with a newie. And then it dropped in front of him and went to him. And he was an intense personality in our team. He lost it. And I was frightened, right? I got really scared. Because he's not just someone that is a senior pro, but someone that you look up to, right? And you want the people that you look up to feel good about you, right? So I felt really badly that I kind of let him down in that sense. And then for some reason, fear had kind of struck me with that. And what had happened was, so every time I had to throw a ball to him, I'd be like, man, will it go straight up? Will it go here? Will it go there?
We all know that feeling.
Oh, man, yeah.
A lot of guys within the team started actually pulling me up for the same thing. The wicket keeper in our team, Tilak Naidu, like, throw the ball here. So if I didn't throw the ball there, he'd be like, go get the ball. So he wouldn't even extend his arm sometimes. He's just like, even if I was off by that much, he wouldn't even put his arm here. It had to be right here. So if it went here, there was no chance. He just keep looking at me because he'd see where the ball's going. He just keep looking at me.
Fast.
So that just built into my fear so much more.
Oh, man.
And then you guys have to listen to this story. So I was a substitute for one of the first one game we were playing against Rajasthan, and our fast bowler came out for a couple of overs. I said, I'll go. I want to field. I want to do something. So I ran in. I went to field, and correctly, I think Venky was bowling. Venky bowled a nice bouncer, and the guy pulled it. I was in deep spelling. I'm like, hey, easy catch. And I went, poof, 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 and it's back. And I went straight through. Didn't touch my hand. I'm like, oh God, where do I look? I picked the ball, threw it back, and he didn't know where to look. And I was like so scared. Even more fear crept in, right? And then I had to pass the ball to Venky. And then we were playing, I think a couple of games after that, we were playing a game in Ahmedabad against Gujarat. And Venky was bowling. And I was standing in mid-on or mid-off. And then I was throwing the ball to Venky. I knew how intense Venky was at that point in time. So Venky was bowling, and then I was throwing the ball, and he was shining the ball. And I was really good at shining the ball. So I'd really shine the ball well, put a lot of effort into shining the ball. I just felt that was a way to contribute because I was not playing matches at that point in time. So threw the ball to Venky after shining it. So ball rolled reverse swing. So trying to help Venky out. And I threw the ball once, and it went up. Venky caught the ball. And then the next time, and he was bowling a long spell. I think he bowled 7 or 8 overs in that spell. because it was really moving. The ball was really moving. So I think it was the 7th over in that spell where I threw one ball, and I knew as soon as it left my hand, oh shit, that's going over his head. And I didn't want to upset Venky anymore. So as soon as I released the ball, I put my head down and just ran for my life after the ball, picked it up, and I put it in Venky's hand and came back to mid-off. And then after that, every ball, I just made sure I shined it, ran up to him, put the ball by the time he got back to his run-up, so that he bowled two more overs after that.
Yeah.
I made sure he got the ball.
Yeah.
But off the field, he's one of the nicest guys. Yeah, I love Venky. In fact, after I watched that interview that you guys had with him, I gave him a call, and he's like, "What is this, man? You're saying things about me." I said, "No, Venky, and people don't know the whole story."
Sorry, man.
That I experienced, and today when I look back at it so fondly. It's such a great memory for me.
Yeah.
And something I truly treasure growing up as a kid.
Finally, last question. We've taken up way more time, and I think a young boy is pretty keen for you to go too. But in Australia, we're afraid now of the Asian century of cricket.
Yep.
What happened at the Gabba did things to us psychologically that we will not recover from. And so I just want to ask, after nearly a century of having to deal with England running the game and then Australia for a little bit of time, how good does it feel to be top dog in world cricket, knowing that everyone from other countries, including us, is trying to get a slice of that big economic pie?
I just have to say, you guys will have to wait a while, or you'll have to multiply and get a lot of people there in Australia playing cricket.
That's good.
And then find a system that funnels all these kids, all these really good kids. But I reckon, give it 20 years, guys, you'll have a lot of Indian expats living there, and then your quality cricket will get good.
Robin, I reckon you could get a game for Australia. We'll bat you at 1,
we'll
then 3, then 5 for a bit, but we'll get you a game.
Yeah.
No thanks. I'm happy where I am, mate.
Thanks so much for joining us, man, and thanks to your young son who's joined as well. That's a great interview technique as well. I don't want to say.
No, so the thing is, whenever I tell him I'm going for an interview or work, he's like, I want to come. So I'm like, okay, come. But I know that his attention span is not going to keep him around. He's not going to stay around for a long time, and now he's doing his own thing. So he's just caught me saying the word SHIT, and I have to go and do a timeout after this to keep my word. Otherwise, when he says something like that, then he's not going to do it, and then he'll pull me up for it.
Nice one. Thanks so much for joining us, man. We'll catch you next time.
Pleasure, guys. Thank you. Take care. Keep well. Stay safe.
You too.
Bye.